What an introduction. Gotta live up to this one. Yeah. Okay. I think we're gonna watch a little video and I'll get going. From the moment we hit Macy's, and for those 8 weeks, we really start out with the girl in mind. We really want to establish who she is. Once we've connected and engaged her, we plan to bring in Summer, the way she wears Summer. So it's not necessarily that our brand evolves in terms of brand DNA, but it evolves in terms of how she dresses and the current trend.
Yeah, because there's a lot of styles that run consistent, I think, through each delivery.
Completely.
Yeah. She doesn't change every season.
Right. And I love how this and this like coexist, you know?
Yes, a mix of that masculine, feminine.
I like it.
I think an important point that we can stress is that we're literally treating the consumer like she has an elevated point of view. We know she pays attention to Instagram and runway and celebrity, and we're hitting the trends at the same time that runway is.
I think that's a very good point, because I think in the brands that we have, competing, non-competing in the space or whatever, there are brands that say like, we're gonna try like 10% of the assortment in fashion, right? Because we have to sell it in and day out. But this cute little button down that you used to run 10 ways, it's not selling anymore. So it's like, she's totally evolved. The retail store hasn't. Hi, Allison.
I have a really good feeling about them. They're my number one, and I like them. Joyce, you're gonna like them.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna like them.
you're gonna like them.
But am I gonna like them? Okay. What are the other brands that they have?
They own Robert Lee Morris, Diane von Furstenberg. They do huge business with Macy's. They know Tim Baxter very well.
Yeah.
You know, just really explain who you are, and, you know, the project, and they're like, we are very interested. I'm setting up a conference call this Thursday, the afternoon. They want to meet with you, his mother, as well as the owner, Linda and Brett.
Wait, did you say his mother?
Yes, it's a family-owned business.
I love to meet with people's mothers.
How many outfits should we identify for each girl?
I think you should do 4 for each girl.
4?
Yeah, not
So
so many.
we'll pick.
Because then you're gonna have to be
5 or 6
undressing mannequins and stuff like it's like weird, right?
We have so many outfits, Joyce. We've never
know.
Do your ponies too? Or do you just do this outfit? Right? She should wear this as well. Wear it with a cute sweater, this blazer with any of the bow glasses that are on here. Looks good with that. Yeah. Bow neck.
Striped t-shirt and the skirt. The pale pink bomber and the midi black dress.
Perfect. I think it's everybody's like natural tendency to want to come and like do it themselves. So maybe there might be some of that after the meet and greet, but I like that you're talking them through the intent. There was a strategy behind every piece, and I feel like it's important for them to hear that we thought through the strategy, and so they have a very thoughtful assortment. It's so much like every girl's closet. I love the big graphic stripe, and it gives it such a casual break. And then I love the denim that breaks it up. Then I love all these prints because it's like an intentional print, like something I would wear.
And
It just looks so pretty. I was almost thinking to create like a pop-up section in some of those bigger stores and host different collaborations and host different brands. I think about like our adjacencies, even the current brands that have kind of held up are struggling. We're saying, hey, we position this brand at Macy's. We believe that Macy's will be a winner. Like, what other brands are there that could do that at Macy's with us and would help us, like, re-engage, you know, the millennial in the department store, you know?
Yeah, because we'll need friends.
Yeah, we need friends.
Do you want them to sit anywhere specific?
Yeah. Me.
Oh,
Emily. Oh, it's so cute what you made them.
Cute.
Really cute.
I mean, you are
So cute. Oh, wait, I need to fix this.
cool. Talk about a Kiddush Hashem. So one of the things that the producer, we're creating all these mini-series for my new brand Avec les filles that launches tomorrow. One of the things that the producer says to me is, you know, I really want to weave in some really like modern music. And I want that girl who's 16 and that girl 28, like I want Beyonce. And I was like, well, I don't do modern music, so this good? Okay. I don't do modern music, so if it's not me, if it's not part of my neshama, if it's not part of my soul, if it's not how I exist, then I'm not being truthful. Then I'm telling a fake story. If I'm telling a fake story, then this is a fake brand, and I might as well just retire. So he says to me, so what were you thinking? Were you thinking like this or that? I said, I sing classical music. There's no words. It's not offensive. It's not saying something I don't believe. But the main focus, if you can see from everything I do in a day, is Kiddush Hashem. 99% of the day, I live in an alternate universe where I run a millennial fashion brand, but all my focus is Kiddush Hashem. I'm at a meeting with executives in the fashion business. It's a Kiddush Hashem. It's an opportunity for me to show who I am, and fashion is my vehicle to connect with people. So, first of all, I want to thank Chaya for inviting me to this event. It's a very, very special event. So thank you, Chaya, for thinking of me and for inviting me. I mean, tomorrow marks a very, very important day for me. It's my first business outside of my family business after being with them for 20 years. And of course, in my style, I'm opening 150 stores tomorrow. I already opened 6 of them on right before Shabbos, and I'm here chatting with you all. I said to my kids before I left them, I said, Yosef, Levi, Mommy's gonna go make a big Kiddush Hashem in New Jersey. They were like, okay, bring us back snow and 2 shovels. I was like, okay. Okay. But there's something that my Rav told me right before I left to come see you tonight, because I stopped by to say hello to him and get a bracha, so that my words would have extra meaning today. And he said something really beautiful to me. He said, we must always be happy with what we have, but never satisfied. I was like, it's a little bizarre. Happy with what you have, but never satisfied. It's a little contradictory. So I didn't say anything, and I listened to get a little bit more. And what he said to me is, in the material world, we should be satisfied with what we have, but in the spiritual world, right, we should always be longing to do more. And so, of course, all of us exist in a business capacity, and that's why we're here today. We're using our entrepreneurial voice to tell our stories and to make a mark in the world, but hopefully we find happiness and satisfaction with what Hashem chooses to give us in our entrepreneurial life. But Bezrat Hashem, may that part of your life really push you forward, that you should want to thrive more and exist more in Yiddishkeit. So, first of all, like I said, thank you so much for inviting me to this event. I got a moment to spend with some of you more deeply than with others. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joyce Azria. I was the creative director of BCBG Generation for 6 years, and newly Avec les filles. To my kids, I'm Mama Lama. To my husband, I'm Chérie. And to my parents, my brother, and my sisters, I am Joycey. Being a wife, a mother of 5, a daughter, a CEO and founder of my new venture, you can imagine that my life is quite full. But I'm going to share with you some points on how I deal with it, and not only deal with it like, oh, I'm dealing with it, but I deal with it with a lot of joy and a lot of gratitude. The way I really deal with it, it's really all my husband. I have nothing to do with it. So thank you for joining me. But he's a huge part But today I'm going to share with you some practical business tips, some stories of the soul, some words of praise to Hashem for allowing me moments like these where I can relax before my big day, and just share with you guys a little bit about myself, my life, my voice, and some of the things I've learned along the way, and hopefully open it up to hear any questions you may have for me. So I was thinking we'd start at the beginning of my life, from stroller to spreadsheets or Chanel to Shabbat, whichever one you like to call it, as I'm a Baal Tshuva. So I was born in Paris. I moved to LA when I was 3 years old to immigrant parents who were chasing the American dream. And I think it was really that, and I heard somebody earlier as I was a little ADD over there answering somebody but kind of listened to a speaker up here, that really when you take your kids to work with you, it has an effect, right? And so I was always schlepped around, like I was left at work many times. My parents would go home and it was like, oh yeah, we left her at work. But you can imagine the American dream. You move here, you try and make it work, you've got kids, you've got your Yiddishkeit, what you want to do with that, and you've got, in the middle, you're trying to bring a passion or your business to life, right? And so my parents, obviously, their work ethic, their tremendous work ethic, rubbed off on the little me in a strong way. I too imagined a life where I could create, beautiful visions and make it, to my goals. And at age 8, my father began to keep Shabbat, just a little there. And it was a time for me that no matter where he was in the world, and he traveled a ton to make BCBG the success that it is after 25 years. But I was there when I was 8 years old. My dad once declined Fashion Week because it was on a Shabbos. My dad also would travel all around the world, but on Shabbos he'd be home to make Kiddush. And so, of course, that had like an everlasting effect on me, right? Because on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I didn't have my parents. So Friday night they would come home, and I knew I had Kiddush, and I knew I was eating challah, and there was some sort of a bookend to my week, right? There was some time that I knew that I could finally connect to them and share in Shabbos, share in love, share in connecting, talking about our week. And after their dream became a reality, the pace of that world took us away from Shabbat. It took us away from our bond as a family, and for many years it took me away from myself. And I lost sight of that part of me that was ambitious, and I began to blend into the world. It seemed like fitting in was more important than being me, and that that kind of goal-oriented life led to kind of a lack of inspiration and sadness for me. And my natural skills, like I would say, I wasn't a leader, and I had become a ladder. Like great people trampled over me. And my ideas, because I wasn't quite me. I wasn't operating as me. And no matter how loud I screamed inside, like, oh, it's me, I'm this firm girl inside, it was like on the outside, I could barely make it day to day. And there's a beautiful saying, which is Hashem's salvation comes in the blink of an eye, and it really does. I mean, you can drop that fast and you can come up that fast. Quickly, in my 20s, life took me to divorce, being a single mom, financial hardship, fear, and really what is the bottom of the circle. And as every good circle, the bottom typically is the last leg before you come back up. So all of that, I think, was for the sake of driving me back up and allowing me to find the buried me under all of those layers, a person who wanted more and was capable of more. I had all this potential, but it was somewhere deeply buried in there. And I got lucky enough to get a wake-up call from a best friend of mine who grew up with me, a Sephardi girl, and she said, it seems like you're not quite you, and I think that you should go see a Rav. And at that point, I could tell you, I had explored other religions. I had walked with snakes in the middle of a forest because a woman told me that if I did that barefoot, that I would gain my inner power back. So I had tried everything. So Shabbat at that point, when a Rav was like, you should probably try keeping Shabbat, I was like, oh yeah, it's easy. No problem. I have done everything else. So I committed to him that I would keep 2 in a row. And you could certainly see that I'm standing in front of you from with kids with payas, and I'm telling you that those two, obviously, keeping 2 Shabbats for me was, I was showing Hashem that I was keeping His way, and very quickly He showed me that He kept me. And all was revealed to me on Shabbos. It's like with the silence of the world came the power of me. It was like the world went shh, and then I felt like I was going shh, you know? And today I stand before you like a very different person, very tall, not tall because I'm 5'2¼ but I stand very tall in front of you, tall and very proud of the life that I've created and how the balance of Shabbat and living a life of Yiddishkeit led me straight to a path of interconnectedness. And it wouldn't let me fall short of who I was to become, and in turn gave me this energy to exist in a very dynamic way in the business world that I could have never imagined. And I can tell you, it's not something I rub in people's faces, but I would say that I'm very proud. I'm very proud of who I am, of the type of family I have, and I always try and find a way to weave in the fact that I wear a sheitel, or like just let people know, like, oh, this isn't an outfit where I'm trying to look like I'm wearing the robe. I'm literally always look like I'm pregnant because it's the way I am. It's how I connect to my roots. I read a beautiful, beautiful piece in the Harvard Business Review on change management. And it kind of followed all of these CEOs who were trying to change around an automotive company. And all of them were failing terribly, one after the next. And in comes a woman who does a very good job. She takes the job as CEO and she totally changes the company in 12 months. And so they do a study on her. What was it about her that made her change this company, turn it around? So they follow her into her day-to-day life. She's wearing a suit. She's going to these meetings. She's doing great, but there's nothing so different about her. And then they document her going into a board meeting. And in the board meeting, she's sitting with many different people. And she shows up in a dashiki, like African garb. And everybody's kind of thrown off, right? Because she usually comes to work in a suit. And here she is at a very, very important day in the company's life where they're reporting out on earnings. And she comes in a dashiki. And so the writer says, I can't help but think that she's well-rooted. And I can't help but think that that might be the X factor that led her to the change. And it really resonated for me. I was in a plane ride, I think from New York to LA, and I'm reading this and I'm like, she's a firm woman inside. You know, like there's something inside of her that, of course, the fruits of her tree are more mature and are more tasty, right? Because her roots are planted so deeply that she's going to a board meeting and saying, this is me. This is me. She doesn't shy away from it. She doesn't try and blend. She doesn't compromise. She doesn't, push the limits of tznius. Like, she's like, this is me. And this is me, that type of entrepreneurial energy, I think is groundbreaking in business because people look across the table. They're like, I see what I get. She's an honest woman. She's a righteous woman. And it breaks religion, it breaks everything, and it allows people to get a sense of who you are, a sense of what your moral compass is, a sense of what your values are. So I know I wanted to weave in some practical business tips. So I think that the first one, going off of that story, is be you. The first business advice I give everybody is just be you. So truth is obviously the most powerful gift you could give to someone else. In order to go out and start a business, to get a job, to be a mom, to help a friend, you have to be you. It's really simple. It's very powerful. The world is filled with many, many copycats, and there's tons of great people in the world. So to shun out that voice that says, well, I can't be too Jewish, or I can't really say that in a meeting because then I might not get that promotion. That thinking is a little bit backwards. But to be you, to allow yourself to show who you are, is to stand out and to stand up. And I say it in almost every speech I give. If you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. And if you stand for nothing, people can't stand you. It is the truth
the truth to truth. MS sells. MS makes deals. When you come and you're emistic, people see through lies. People see when you're hiding. People see when you're blending. People see when you're trying to fit in. But when you stand out, you stand out. And so that's my first, I think, piece of business advice. And I can tell you because I made the shift in my business. And my business in the last 2 years of my transformation became a $400 million business, the very last one that I managed. And I tell you that number because I want you to understand the impact that I had everybody in the world from inside my own company say, how are you going to connect with a millennial? You don't dress like one anymore. How are you going to connect with a millennial if you're wearing a wig? How are you going to connect with a millennial if you don't use social media? How are you going to connect with a millennial if you're not on the internet all day or watching TV or listening to music? Maybe you should listen to the top 10 songs just so you know what's going on. Maybe you should watch this show so you know what's going on. Guess what? I'm friends with every big celebrity and I don't blend. They want to come hang out with me, they come to a kosher restaurant. They want to come and bake Shabbos by my family, wonderful. I can tell you that I was hanging out a ton with a very big celebrity and she's converted this year to Judaism. And everything to be in the spirit of a Kiddush Hashem, to be connected with Hashem, gives you bracha. You want to multiply? I think many of you asked me today, how do I scale? Use Hashem. How do I scale? Be you. How do I scale? Be emistic. That's how you scale a business. Be who you are. Be who you are. People respect you. They want to do deals with you. They want to be in business with you. So my second advice is time management through undivided focus. This is a big one for me. I work on this one daily. So when I'm at work, I concentrate with full focus on my business. I adore my personal life. I love my kids. I wish I could be on FaceTime 24 hours a day. I wish I could be in front of them 24 hours a day. But when I'm at work, I'm truly at work. I have a different look. I wear a sheitel. I wear nice clothes. The same thing when I come home. My kids don't know me in a sheitel. My sheitel comes off, I put on a tichel, I take off my shoes, I change my clothes. My husband calls me Papa Chanel. My outfits go to an all-time low. If you see the amount of Ross clothes I have in my home, you would say, that girl for sure doesn't go to Ross. She shops at Saks, Barney's, Neiman's. No, I don't. I shop at Ross. When my kids come home, they want to... I don't want them to feel that if they drool on me or if they make me dirty, it would bother me. I literally change my entire exterior because I'm home. And in that realm, I exist with them. I laugh with them. I get on my knees with them. I cook. I play. I listen. I listen intensely to my husband and how was his day and what happened with the kids and where did we go with work today. And these are the types of things. And even though I might share about my work, I do so mindfully that my children are listening to every word that I say. And I want to make sure that my number one job is a job as a wife and as a mother. And my number two job is being entrepreneurial and doing something, leaving a lasting impression in the world. So once I heard from a Rav, he said something so beautiful. He said that a mother who focuses her intentions with sincerity, time expands itself for her. And that even if she has 5 minutes to tuck her child into bed, her child feels as if the time was abundant. And I've definitely been in situations where I'm with somebody. I was just telling somebody right before here, this Shabbos is the perfect example. I was called at noon. I was making Shabbos and I was making a birthday for somebody and I had all these people coming and my housekeeper said she couldn't come. There was like a million things happening. And a business partner calls me and says, do you have time to go to your office and I need you to notarize something. I need you to get your husband there. My husband was visiting somebody who was sick. I was in the middle of making Shabbos, but I knew it was something that had to be done. But I knew that there was very little time. Okay, I'm a Baal Tshuva, so I need like 7 hours before Shabbos. I'm saying, it's almost Shabbos, it's almost Shabbos, it's 6 hours before Shabbos, it's 4 hours and 45 minutes before Shabbos, it's almost Shabbos, it's an hour into Shabbos, and my kids are getting there, it's Shabbos, yeah, it's Shabbos. So maybe some of you are more advanced than me that you're like 15 minutes before Shabbos, you're like, I'm gonna go take my shower. I could tell from my neighbors outside, it's like they're still taking drinks out of the car and my candles are lit, like Shabbos is in my house, it's going. So, but it's that type of way that time expands itself. And I'm telling you, Hashem is my partner and he pulls the time for me. This Shabbos, I literally had 45 minutes to do 4 hours worth of things, and I wanted to see my Rav before Shabbos too. And I tell you, my husband and I, it was a miracle. We arrived at home, and we still had like, I think 2 hours before Shabbos. And it was like the time was, it was physically an impossibility, but I knew that Hashem made it for me. He pulled so that I could get everything done, and I was still back, take my challah out of the oven, to be with my kids, to make sure they were showered properly, to do all of these things because he was on my side. And I wouldn't be able to do 10% of what I do without that focus, balance, and then the undeniable energy of my faith. So faith has always given me that calm feeling. It's always brought me back to that kind of peaceful place. And speaking about time and how you devise your time, I want to bring up guilt, because time and guilt have a very interesting dance for women in our position. So we're at work, we're guilty we're not at home, we're at home, we're guilty we're not at work. Guilt is good. Guilt is good. Guilt is good. When you say to yourself, is this skirt too short? Is it like when I pull up my sleeves like this, does it show my knee? This is guilt, this is good. Because it's like it's almost like a check. But if you can use the guilt to be good, if you can take the guilt and not make it negative, not like the guilt like maybe your grandma put on you. Like my grandma was very good with guilt. I love my grandma. She's very good with guilt. But the guilt that you give yourself, that when you're at work and you say, oh, do my kids need me? And you put it to the side and you say, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling because it means that I love my kids and I know I should be with my kids. And that when you're at home with your kids and you say, but my partner or my competitor is at work till 10 p.m. today, and I have to be home at 5 because I have to go to a Hanukkah party, and da-da-da-da-da. This guilt is good, but you have to channel that guilt, control that guilt, love the guilt, and use the guilt to say that you're committed in the different areas of your life. But be in control of the guilt, and don't let the guilt come on top. Don't let the guilt go over you and tell you what. You tell the guilt. You tell the guilt. Okay, I know, you're right. I'm at work, I'm pushing it at 7 o'clock. I should be home. Okay, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to leave at 5. Just because I feel bad about it, I feel like my second kid needs me more than everybody else, and he gave me a little guilt yesterday, so I'm going to go home too. I'm going to use the guilt and turn it, and I'm going to control the guilt. That's just an important lesson. It's a lesson that I learned because the guilt used to drive me from a place of fear, and now the guilt drives me from a place of success. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little guilty. Levi told me that he missed me a lot yesterday. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to make sure that I go home and I take a little extra time with him, or during Shabbos I'm going to make a puzzle straight with him, and I'm going to give him a little time. So this is the type of tactics that I think a woman in our situation need. The third advice is replace all fear with faith. I think a big challenge for women in our position is fear. We get to big places, and we get to big places because Hashem wants us to do a meaningful thing. But this fear, we have to take it, and we have to wrestle with it, and we have to control it, and we have to take our emunah and eradicate the fear. So when people ask me, what's your balance? How do you do it? How do you work? How do you do family? How are you still smiling? I say it's faith. Really, faith is the secret weapon. It relieves you of the pressure and misconception that you're in control of things. And although I'm the boss to some, I have a boss. And he's the boss who's going to choose if I'm successful. And he's the boss who's above me. And so I'm going to do my ishtadlut, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to do, and I'm going to toil. But at the end of the day, I should have no fear from the things that I do. Because if you really, truly believe in Hashem will bring the water up to your nostrils, up to you can't, and then he's going to part the sea for you. But you have to show him that you're walking straight ahead, that you're taking the fear and you're walking, and it doesn't mean you won't be down, it doesn't mean you won't be a little scared for a minute, especially when you're building something great, too. Should I have done the business? Should I have put the money there? Should I have done the website? Should I have gone to Costco? Should I have gone to Target? Was I EDI compliant? You wake up in the middle of the night, but you know that Hashem is with you. So you almost exhale and you say, I invested. I put in my heart. I put in my hard work. Now Hashem, you take care of it. And knowing that, owning that fearless energy, and that you do everything for the right reasons and in the right way and in the right moment and without regret, Hashem helps. Friday night, when my husband sings Eshes Chayil, I always take that moment and I reflect. I reflect my week, my commitments, my family. And although in that moment I feel an immense gratitude, my kids are looking at me, my husband's looking at me, different people I have at the table are like, what is he doing singing to her? I often do remember the immense pressure on my shoulders. And as a busy woman, it's not always easy, right? You feel like some weeks your shoulders can handle it, and some weeks you don't feel as confident. But knowing that Hashem is in control, that when He gives you the bad news, it's for the good. When He gives you the good news, it's for the good. I took a very, very important call this week, and I knew it was so important. And I didn't want to be doom and gloom, but I knew it wasn't going to be the outcome I wanted. And I knew it going into the call. And I said, you know what? The outcome is the outcome. That I can't control what this woman's going to say to me on the phone. But what I can control is my outlook after I hang up the phone with her. So I didn't want to take it and go to a place of fear, and why didn't I put that in the contract, and panic and be paralyzed and have a terrible Shabbos, or am I going to say, you know what, Hashem, there was a reason, I'll find out what the reason was. No matter what this phone call says, I'm going to be happy. I picked up the phone, I spoke to the woman, she told me everything I didn't want to hear. I said, thank you so much. Keep your mind open about it. I'm going to change your mind. She said, I'm not changing my mind. I said, you're going to change your mind tomorrow. Thank you so much. I hung up the phone with her. And at the end, I hung up the phone, but I was in a place of control. I was in a place that said, Hashem gave me this. It's an obstacle. It's for me, created for me in this perfect time, in this perfect moment. He packaged it, put a bow on it, and pretty soon I'm going to unwrap it and see why. I also loved a beautiful conversation I heard between two rabbis, and they were talking about how fear comes from ego. The more success a person gains, the more they think that they were the part of the success. And the bigger and bigger they get, the harder and harder it seems for them to see that they had nothing to do with the success at all. People tend to think they're powerful, they're brilliant, they build these big companies, they look down at people, but the biggest mistake they make is forgetting who the real boss is. And then when bad things happen and they lose control and then panic takes over and they have fear, that person who got so big, who was responsible for all these big wins, takes a big fall. So we have to remember in moments like that, when we're seeing success, to look up, to remember the bad news, the good news. It all comes from Hashem. And like a child learning to walk, each fall represents a step closer to a lifetime of running. Hashem tests us because He knows we're going to rise, and in partnership with Him, we always rise much, much higher. So we have to always know that we must do the best, but then there's a certain handoff where it goes in the hands of Hashem, and that's what helps us peacefully walk through the process. The fourth piece of advice that I have is be humble and give. Humility and modesty are values that prevail in business and protect in life. Modesty of speech, modesty of dress, and a general feeling of humility keep us in line and in joy. By showing our skin, expressing everything that's on our mind, removing the limits, removing the boundaries, all we're doing is disconnecting with ourselves. We disconnect from others, and we disconnect from Hashem. Those of us who hold back a little bit, we listen a little more than we speak, we're dressed a little bit more modestly, we keep in mind charity, we're already a million steps ahead of the rest of the people. Being humble is a conduit for giving, and being a giver is changing the world. In fact, the world was created on giving. Hashem gives us the gift of life, and to be truly in His image, we have to give too. And I think about actually a public speaking engagement I did a few months ago. This woman came to see me at the end. She says, oh, but you're so lucky. Your parents are in this business, and da-da-da, and I don't have, and I don't da-da-da. First of all, nobody knows the intricacies of somebody else's life. They don't know what I've been through. They don't know that I had a divorce. They don't know that my parents didn't necessarily support me becoming, from, whatever the trials are, people have an interesting way of looking. But she came to me from a place of like, I was used, and I was taken, and I was abused, and I have nothing else to give, and I have nothing else to give. And I said, yeah, you have to give. You have to give. What do you mean you have to give? You have to give what you have. But I don't have anything. I say, sure you have I don't know, there's words coming out of your mouth, you can speak, you can give a good word, you can smile to me, you can make me feel better. Of course you can give. Giving is not a bone, it's a muscle. Like it's not you're born with it or you're not born with it. It's something you have to work. Giving means you give a good image of yourself. Giving means that you make a little effort when you get dressed in the morning. Giving means you smile. Giving means you say a good word. Oh, I like your shoes. I like this. You improve somebody else's day. It's so easy to get caught in the minutia and the world that we have inside of our little mind, and very hard sometimes to exit ourselves and to say, hey, I like, this or that, or to take yourself out of yourself. And I'm telling you, in a position of giving, I'm going to share a story that I never share, but I'll share it. I was just newly divorced after 10 years, and I had a baby, and I'm very proud, and I would never ask my parents for anything, and I had a very nice Range Rover, no money for gas, but a very nice Range Rover, and all my accounts were frozen, and people saw me one way, and I knew inside what was going on was a different way. And I went to a dinner. Some friends invited me to a dinner, and they said to me, oh, there's a school that's closing, it's a Jewish school. And I was like listening with one ear, but the other ear I was thinking about, I can't believe that this is what I'm going to be left with. I can't believe that my accounts are frozen. Where am I going to find money to put gas in my tank tomorrow morning? And I'm thinking about myself, all this in myself. The next morning I'm driving to work in my fancy car, and I'm feeling so sorry for myself. Such a victim in this story, and now I'm single, and my son. And right then, in the same instant, I think, oh my gosh, they told me that a school is closing. Like, in the whole time I was thinking about myself at dinner, they told me a school is closing. I'm a mother. Imagine tomorrow my school closes. So I try and remember the name of the school, but I can't because I wasn't paying attention. So I say to myself, you know what, I feel so terrible for myself. I'm on the edge of crying, of wanting to take my car off the freeway. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel so much sadness with myself. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save the school. I have nothing else to do. I have nothing better to do. I have to drive for 45 minutes. I'm completely depressed out of my mind. I might as well make it a holy depression. Connect with Hashem. You're down so low. I'm like, Hashem, yeah, I'm down all the way down here. And I start driving, and I say, I bet I have a bunch of wealthy people's phone numbers in my car, in my phone. I'm just going to start going through my phone. And I'm going, hi, how are you? Yes, I know. Oh, you're in Canada? Yeah, I'm in LA. It's beautiful. Oh, it's snowing over there. Oh, nice. Listen, so I'm part of this group, and we're trying to raise money. There's a school that's closing. Where's the school? Here in LA. The school is here in LA, and it's closing. How many kids? It's an interesting question, the amount of kids they change because the school, when it doesn't have resources, and the name of the school is, I'm going to get back to you, I'm going to tell you the name of the school, but more importantly, what I called to tell you today is that I'm raising money for this school, and the school can't close, and there's mothers, and I think of mothers like me, and da-da-da. Okay, I'll give $10,000. Nice. You know what? Call my friend. My friend will match my $10,000. Okay, great. Can I have his number? I lost his number. Da-da-da. Yeah. So call this friend. You listen, your friend gave 10 grand. Yeah, sure, I'll give 10 grand too. Call my other friend. Okay, sure. I start calling, and I call, and I call. And when I'm done with all the wealthy people I had in my phone, I said, yeah, I'm going to call people that it's hard for them to give. I'm going to call people who are in the same position as me right now. I'm going to call people that maybe they don't have $1. And I'm going to make them the service of being the conduit for them to make it tzedakah. Hi, how are you? They're closing a school. What's the name of the school? It's not about the school. It's not about the name of the school. I need $1 from you. $1? You need $1 from me? I need $1. I want everybody I know to put $1. If everybody I knew put $1, the school's going to stay open. Da, 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 da. I'm driving. And then $280,000 later, I had a lot of places to go to pick up checks. I still didn't have gas. And the school stayed open for one more year. And then there was another sponsor and another angel. Hashem made it so that the school stayed open another year. Hashem made it so that I should have the schus to drop it in my mind. And Hashem made it so that somebody else sponsored the school a year later. They did close the school this year, unfortunately. But The point of the story is when you feel so sorry for yourself and so sad, or your business is not going where you want it to go, Hashem gives you a bracha when you give. And it doesn't always mean money. It means money, it means $1, it means a smile, it means something. It means dressing nice for your husband. Maybe your style went down, you had 7 kids, you're like, I don't know, I don't feel so inspired. But it's doing one step of good opens the well of good. So I'm going to bring to a subject, I hope you can follow along. I don't know if I wrote it quite as clearly as I see it in my mind. But the Hebrew word for light is oh. The same word with a different spelling, ayin versus the aleph, means skin. So with one letter change there, you have a new meaning. Like the word or, we as people can go from light to skin. So what do I mean is when we conduct ourselves, and we were talking about modesty and giving back, when we conduct ourselves in our business ethically, with self-respect, with respect for others, with trust in our Creator, we see the world of or. I've connected with so many women and I say, do you see miracles? Do you believe in Hashem? Do you see miracles all the time? Does he wink at you? Does he play jokes on you? I'm like, oh yeah, me too. I see Hashem. This is the light of or. This is when you're living your life and there's oh. You are that person to say, oh, you have such nice skin. No, actually you don't have nice skin. It's because it's beyond your skin. There's something about you from the energy of Shabbos, from something within you. There's an immense energy within you. But with a small switch, you can flip it to the other or. And what does the other or mean? Skin. So have you ever heard the expression, have thick skin? It literally means to cut off from your feelings, to cut off from your community, to cut off in terms of time, place, being, to separate, eradicate yourself from yourself, and that's or. It's creating a layer. And we have a life that we can live it in both ways. So, like or and or, we can either live in the sun or we can withdraw into this shell, into the cold, into the shade, into the layers, into the lights being turned off. But humility, modesty is the gatekeeper. It allows the or to come out. Because you're no longer relying on the outside, it's the inside that has to break through. And a charitable heart, this is what keeps us bright as the sun. And it's really that, like when I meet people in my business or I meet celebrities and they see me, there's an overwhelming sense of awe that comes, and they want to come to a Shabbos, and they want to come to your kosher restaurant, and they like the idea that you cover your hair, and oh wow, it must save you time, So it's really, it's a level of connection, because when you shine, people are attracted to you. They want to be by you. They want to do business with you. They want a little bit of the light. You attract other things too, which you kind of have to set to the side. But what it does is it allows you to be you. The fifth piece of advice I want to give is that Hashem is the best business partner. And I'm really talking about business. He's my accountant, he's my CFO, he's my CEO, he's my executive assistant. But what I'm saying is that every time I'm in business with Hashem, we win. We're the best partners. Because it means when I'm at home with my kids, he's making sure my shipment from the 3PL made it to the boat and it's gonna get into my warehouse. And when I'm at work and I know that my kid is, my 2-year-old, the gate was left open, it wasn't Levi, it wasn't Yosef, it wasn't Noah, who knows how the gate stayed open, but Esty is shooting up the stairs. Hashem is there holding Esty up, one step by one step while I'm sitting at work. Because Hashem and I are partners. So sometimes partners, like a good husband and wife, like good friends, one is here, the other one's got to be there. Oh, I can't be there. I was telling somebody earlier today, I want to Xerox copy myself. Sometimes I want to put one of myself over here and one of myself over here, because I want to be with my kids, and I want to be in my work, and I want to exist for my friends, and I want to be my dad's daughter, and I want to do all those things. But it's only with Hashem. My brother calls me right before I left here. So there was an article that ran in the Times of Israel. He says, Joyce, I don't understand how you have time to call me back. I said, of course I have time to call you back. You're my brother. You called me twice. I'm sorry I didn't call you back. Yeah, but you have time to call me back, and you have time to run after kids, and you have time to do, and you have time. Because Hashem expands my time, but because Hashem's my partner. Because he's at my work, he's in my office. He's making sure nobody's stealing from me, nobody's doing this, everything is moving. And so, no matter where I am, I'm secure that Hashem's with me. That even at the end of the day, when everything's done and I put my head on the pillow, I have a pillow and it's his hand under my head. He even helps me when I need to fall asleep. And so everything is always in peace. In the Torah portion, Parshas Bo, God says to Moshe, come to Pharaoh and not go to Pharaoh. Why? So the commentary explains that by asking Moshe to come with him, he's reaffirming his partnership and his connection to Moshe. And through those perfect words of unity, it's intentional that he shouldn't go to Pharaoh, but he should come with him. And for me, it really resonates. My husband gave that over a couple weeks ago. And it means you walk with Hashem and you're always with him. There's no in business, there's no reason to fear. So in that spirit, I wanted to ask you guys if you'll allow me to exercise my giving by allowing me to give you advice, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever you guys need from me, and allow me to hopefully be a conduit of or in whatever business situation, life situation you have for me, because I have to say I truly felt today, people ask me if I get nervous sometimes to public speak, and I rarely get nervous, but I never get nervous in front of from women, because when I'm in a room with you guys, even if it's the first time I meet you, we all light Shabbos candles, right? And I read a very pretty post. Somebody posted something about Shabbos a few weeks ago. They said, oh, I'm far from my sister, but I know that we both lit Shabbos candles, so I don't miss her tonight. Something's along that lines. And I feel like we're all connected. Every woman I sat in front of today, and Chaya, and everyone said, oh, you're so personable. I'm not personable. We're all one. And somebody says, oh, yeah, but they don't share their business contacts. I don't understand that. We're all one. We're all here. We're all here to help each other. And B'ezrat Hashem, I hope I shine a little light on something. I weaved in a little bit more, maybe Yiddishkeit than practical business advice. But if there's a question that you have for me that you feel would be meaningful for me, or if I could be of help in any situation that you have in business or in home, I'd love to ask out if anybody has a question.
Okay, so we're taking questions now?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. So my question, and I've been watching you for the past few years, you talk about being honest and being authentic. So I'm just wondering how much you're so strong in who you are as a person, and how do you translate that into your brand, and especially now that you're starting your own brand, it's not part of the BCBG world or whatever. How does that relate to you as a person in the Shabbos and what you talk about?
Sure. So the first thing I put as a line on my business is I said I want a frum out. I want something that a frum girl could wear when she comes to shop on my path. That was really important to me because I want to wear my clothes, and I was never able to wear my own clothes. I had to wear and add a sleeve and this and that. So I promised myself I would do that. And somebody actually asked me a question. They said, Joyce, I don't understand your frum. You should have a frum line. But there is an impact when you're dressing people throughout the world and you're being an image of the society. Okay, so my brand is an image. It's a storytelling of a millennial girl. I wrote a book about it, and that's how I ended up writing the story for this brand, is that I wrote a book about the millennial girl. Why is she focused on her goals? She should be focused on having kids. She can get goals. Everyone can go get their goal. But if you do it backwards, the timing might not be right, right? I have all my friends who I grew up with and went to college with, they're going to hit, 40, that none of them are even thinking about marriage. It's not even in the front of their mind. And so for me, my work is to reach people. And my brand has a lot of me. It has everything of me. And so the product extensions, some of them feel like they resonate more with me because they're things I would wear, but I also design for everybody. I design in a way where I can include people in my story. It's like Kiruv through fashion, Because I'll tell you, I definitely was very far from. If you have internet, Google me. You know what I'm saying? And I leave it up, and I never contact people, take down that picture or do it. It's an affirmation of the transformation that I had in my life. This brand is, I try and weave my inner workings through every part, and there's lots of winks along the way. But yeah, it's truly, it also truly defines me, this brand, as a businesswoman. I think that there's a lack of credibility for women in general, but there's a lack of credibility around a religious woman operating in a non-religious environment. And there's a boy who came to see me this weekend. He said he's a frum boy and he wants to be an actor. I was trying to help him kind of figure that one out, because that's a tough one, right? And I'm like, you'd be an exception. It's an interesting business. You know, I grew up around all of them. But I can tell you that in fashion, many would say the same thing to me. Like, oh, well, if you can't wear the trend, how are you dressing in Fashion Week, and you're not so fashionable anymore? I don't care. I know fashion better than anybody else. And as an outsider, I know it even better. I'm even more connected to my consumer because I don't have my personal taste in there. When I was running a millennial brand and I was the millennial inside, I wasn't far enough pulled away from it to even be able to look inside. Because I had my own tastes and my own opinion and my own. So today, by being a frum woman, everything I do is exponentially bigger. And Bezrat Hashem, this brand will be a huge success. But I know from my heart that Hashem already, the inner workings, the people that I deal with, the amount of respect that comes to me from the inner foundations that I'm laying for this brand, it can only go up. It can only go up because of the business partners that I chose, because of the working relationships that I have, because the integrity I use around everything I do is held at a certain level. So.
Talking about how you dress when you go to shows and so on and so forth. Trump's wife was wearing a tznius dress and an amazing dress, and everyone was going on about her dress. So we could look tznius and everything in the outside world and still classy, and it works.
1,000,000%. Royalty is always covered up. Go through history books. Every queen is wearing gloves up to here. Down below the knee, royalty is always covered up. So I think I'm regal. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thought process that I take. It's a different point of view. I don't find myself to be a queen, like God forbid, I'm not saying it like from that perspective. I'm saying like I really feel like a queen. I feel like when I put a sheitel on, I've talked to a lot of girls who have trouble putting a sheitel on. I'm like, what's your trouble? You don't want to wear a crown? That's your prerogative. You know, but for me, I never, so if it's a hat that you don't want to wear and you want to wear a tichel, or you don't want to wear a tichel and you want to wear a short wig, I wanted my kids to go to a more religious school, but they like the wig shorter. I'm like, I'll cut my wigs, no problem. You know, but the point is that you really are a queen. I really feel like a queen. I'll tell you this, my whole life I was 98 pounds. I've had many kids in the past 4 years, and I've been perpetually 178 pounds with all the kids I've been having. And I've never felt prettier. And it's not about weight, and it's not about, really it's about being tznius. And I feel like a queen, and when I walk into a room, people always tell me, wow, you're so this, you're so that. And I know I don't feel, in terms of where I've been in my life, in terms of the pretty factor or the fashion factor, I feel like a queen.
Any other questions?
I would like to ask you a question, since you are coming from a different background, obviously, than many of us. So even though you're different today, you can still relate to the secular community. I'm wondering how I can understand a secular audience if I never came from that background. Like, that's my challenge. Like, if you're doing social media marketing, how do you get into their minds? Is there a way to... Or do you have any other advice?
So the first question is it appropriate? I don't know what you do, but I was speaking to somebody earlier today about a product, and I said, listen, I know you don't have internet, and I know that you can research if it's for the purpose of work, and you have to ask a Rav, obviously, you have to go about things. No joke, I call my Rav maybe 30 times a day. Should I turn right? Should I turn left? Should I go up? Should I go down? Should I say yes? Should I say no? Should I say one? Should I say two? And when I don't call him, he says, "And why didn't you call me?" I was like, "I didn't want to bother you. You should have bothered me, and you should have called me." So it depends. I think if it's within the boundaries of what works for your family and where you are in terms of your Yiddishkeit, I like to say that I relate, but I don't blend. Do you see the difference? So I obviously do an enormous social media. In my business that I chose to do now, I decided to take my social media and put it in the best hands of the best professionals for social media. Then my personal social media, I don't post my kids. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't want people seeing my kids. I don't want the, like I have my own, so you have to go by your personal moral compass, and I think also the strategy around your business. I think Hashem gives you bracha without the social media. I tell you one thing. You can see people who hire. A guy came to me and was asking me for some advice on hiring in this agency. He said, you can hire the agency. You can pay for people to buy it. If Hashem doesn't want it to be successful, it's not successful. And you could do the exact opposite and find success. So I think it just depends. I think in all of our strategy, we have to be very mindful and thoughtful of what's appropriate for our families and what's appropriate for us. Like I know for my family, it's not appropriate that I would take them to a fashion function. And I know that most of them I decline. But I feel like if there's something that I can go to where there's kiruv and I might make a social media, there might be something that's important for the business. As long as I feel that my family is protected, that's where my moral checkpoint is. So if that's the next level for your business, daven to Hashem that He should give you a bracha without it if you don't want to get into it. Or that He should send you an agency maybe run by a frum woman so that she can relate. So it just depends. I think it depends what your strategy. I don't know what it is that you're selling, but I think that you just have to go with your intuition. But I'll tell you, Hashem gives you a big bracha when you choose being clean and correct.
Okay, we have time for one more question. We're running out of time.
First of all, you're a huge inspiration. Thank you. And second of all, I'm just wondering how you keep up with like the fashion of that millennial girl when you are not your customer.
Listen, it's research. It's surely research. It's research, but you guys might think I'm lame. I really rely on Hashem. Like I have a very sharp eye. I had my last business in footwear was over $100 million, and I was already from, and I can't wear open toe shoes anymore, and I wear pantyhose. That was a big step, but I still have an eye for it. So I still have an eye, and I always ask Hashem. I'm like, Hashem, help me that my eye should still be attuned to what she wants, and help me that I should elevate Am Yisrael, and that I should elevate even, people that are not, like us, that they should dress in a modest cycle. There are cycles in fashion. There are cycles that are more modest and less modest. We are, unfortunately, in a less modest cycle. But there's a lot of new great brands that are doing amazing things like the Row, and there's a lot of great brands that have a fashion modest point of view. But I keep attuned. I keep looking. I look to my friends. I look to bloggers. I look to street style a lot because I don't watch TV. But Hashem makes fashion, so He's got me. Thank you.